pedigree. Salford with 1 win in 5 attempts and a record number of points in the against column in Magic Weekend, 216. And Widnes made their debut last year in this event, and that resulted in a 68 points to 4 toweling by Warrington. Not much to pick between the teams in terms of the odds. Who do you pick, Brian Carney?
Well, I think you'd have to favour the Widnes Vikings going into this game, Rod. They have a stronger squad, and Salford, we know, had the disruption of not really having a pre-season, with the club teetering on going into administration before Dr. Kukash bought them out. There are a couple of players on both sides, however, that I'm looking forward to seeing. The 2 fullbacks, Mark Sneyd and Rhys Hanbury for the Widnes Vikings, and in particular the left wing for Widnes, who kicked the game off. Jack Owens, wearing the number 26 jersey, locally raised, come through the ranks at Widnes, and big things expected of him in the future.
Well, Salford still playing under the nickname of the Salford City Reds. Enjoy that while you can. Dr. Kukash will call them the Salford Red Devils from next season. Let's see if there's any devil in their performance today. And the City Reds all in red and Widnes in black, moving from left to right. There is the good doctor, dressed in blue today at the home of the Sky Blues, Manchester City. Well, Widnes annihilated Salford when they last met, as Eddie Hemmings was saying, 58 points to 24, their biggest win ever in Super League in terms of points scored. John Clark, should call him John Clark BSc these days. Now he's got a degree from Chester University, which he picked up earlier this year, and he goes in again to dummy half. The Widnes skipper spreading it wide, and Kevin Brown puts the first real dangerous bomb in. Shouldn't cause too many problems, and doesn't in the end, for Mark Sneyd, who's arguably been Salford's best player this season.
Well, he's one of the finds, really, Rod. I had Mark when I coached at Salford a few years ago. Mark was actually coming through the system as a pivot. He was a very accomplished standoff, tremendous kicking game, excellent skill, and I'm not surprised to see him in the fullback role, because he's a very intelligent player, and I think he's really been one of the finds of the year for Salford City Reds.
Well, this is something that's happening quite a lot, isn't it, under the Sam Tompkins plan. We start off as a standoff or a scrum half and move to fullback, and we'll see 2 today, Sean, won't we? Obviously with Sneyd for Salford, and Rhys Hanbury's done the same job for Widnes Vikings. Well,
there's an attempt at 40-20. I don't think it's quite going to make the one, but it's going to put Rhys Hanbury under plenty of pressure to play at it.
Well, he waited as long as he possibly could, and it was just long enough.
Yeah, no, Rhys Hanbury was another player that I coached actually at South Sydney many years ago, and he again was a pivot. He has a number 7 shirt on his back, the squad number, but he also was a halfback, and he's another player that has, I guess you could say, progressed into the fullback role. And because they've got vision, because they can come and play up in the line, it makes them, it's the modern day fullback now, the one that can come up and almost gives you 3 pivots.
Well, Hanbury returning from a hamstring problem, but we saw him pick up in a home defeat against Wakefield Trinity Wildcats a few weeks back, and arguably he's been Widnes' standout player this season. He's certainly their top try scorer, with 8 to his name so far in 2013, and what has been a much better season for Widnes. Last year they propped at the pile. This year they can move within a couple of points of the top 8 if they win this game, and here he is, the aforementioned Hanbury, being dragged dangerously close to the touchline, but he will manage to stay in play with a bit of assistance on the far side, and Cameron Phelps goes into dummy half as Widnes launch a second attack on the Salford line. This time Brown is a little more deft with the kick. Straight down the throat, no problems for Mark Sneyd, who tries out the dancing feet but can't evade the Widnes tacklers.
I mentioned Jack Owens at the start of the game. We have a man beside us, Rod, who's perfectly positioned to tell us about him. Really good build of a player, Paul Cullen, playing on the wing, has played plenty of fullback. What do you know about him?
Well, absolutely, that's Brian. And in terms of recruitment, you actually do start with character and then ability, and the position, the final position, is almost the last piece in the jigsaw, as Sean alluded to. You've got to get the guy who wants to turn up to train, wants to do the rough, tough stuff, and wants to behave and be a model professional. And you are right, they just simply morph into a position that suits them and suits the team. Now, Jack has gone through playing scrum half, standoff, loose forward, and full-back, and he's now in the first team on the wing. It's all a part of his Super League education.
And there are, Paul, quite a few coming through from this team, aren't they, for Widnes, that have been brought through the junior ranks, which is obviously good.
Absolutely, and you know, any kind of criticism of Widnes that they shouldn't have been in last year or that they're not the team to be a part of Super League, for me is nonsense. It's about long-term development of a club. I mean, I'm looking down at the Salford list at the moment. They've used 34 players so far this season and 17 debuts in one season. That's almost role reversal from Widnes of last year. It just shows you how hard it is to get a side, buy a side, bring it into a competition and get it up to speed. It's not overnight success, whether you've got multi-million pounds or not.
Well, this time Widnes did with the kick almost managed to bisect the winger and the fullback, but this time it's run out safely enough by Jody Broughton for Salford.
And Jody Broughton is somebody they'll want to get into a bit of space, Rod. They'll need to hold on to him at Salford City Reds, or Salford Red Devils as they'll be known next year. Very quick, very strong, and a bit of space on this big pitch. Watch Jody Broughton go. I'm not sure there's many on this field that could lay a glove on him.
No, he's rapid. He is lightning quick, I can tell you. Although Paddy Flynn, who is opposite him, he can shift as well. There's some real pace on both these sides. I'll tell you something though, Rod, but I think when you play second day, you've got a great opportunity to learn from the teams that played on the first day. And one thing that happened yesterday in most of the games is there were points scored really early. So some teams got out of the blocks. What we've seen here so far is a real conservative start to both sides. And I think both coaches are probably going to say, look, first 5 sets, no risk factor at all. Don't want you to offload. Don't want you to put too many passes together. Want you to roll down the field and kick. And that's exactly what we've seen. And now we've got the first penalty of the game.
And it goes to Widnes. Paddy Flynn not allowed to get up. Thierry Alibert is our match official. Widnes have the first penalty. Very warm out there. The height of the day's heat at the moment. Just after 3 o'clock, there might be an eyebrow or two raised that Widnes have turned up to play in heat-absorbent black.
Well, you're right on the penalty there, and you can't give away penalties like that, Rod, in these conditions. And what disappoints me with that penalty, it's the second effort, it's the scourge of the modern game. Losing collision, hitting the grass, coming back on for a second effort. I'm looking at Stuart Cummings to my left-hand side, and Stuart's nodding in agreement. Brian Noble won't be happy with that penalty at all. The referees simply won't allow you to bounce off, hit the floor, and bounce back on. The coach killers.
John Clark shaped to go right, then he went left and fired a pass into Lulawai, but it's got them into a very strong attacking position here, right in the middle of the field, just 22 metres out here, Widnes, and O'Carroll will look to spin, but he's going to be all wrapped up in a bear hug by 2 Salford City Reds. Dennis Betts looks on. The Widnes coach, he was here yesterday watching. That's gone forward. And this will be a free play if they want to try some kind of audacious action, and I think they might do. Yeah, there's the little chip ahead from Mark Sneed. It will come back if it all goes horribly wrong, and that might be in a few minutes' time after that punt forward. Widnes should gather this, and it'll be a question whether Alibert wants to go back. You want to go all the way back 100 metres, Thierry? Yes, you do. So we're going to go all the way back, and this is what causes the problem about this free play rule if something like that
Well, he's not. He's gone.
Well, gone for the dropout. Stuart Cummings will explain why.
Well, it's deemed a greater advantage from that play is the dropout, and if you think if Widnes take the goal line dropout, Salford are going to receive the ball on the halfway line as opposed to going all the way back down there. So he's let that play go with advantage.
My understanding was you had to play. You did not have to play the ball. You had to play the ball, be in possession and play the ball.
But for the free play to take place, he had the option to go back all the way. But he's deemed that by letting the advantage go, that the greater advantage is for them to get the ball back on the halfway.
I think Widnes will be a little bit disappointed with not the error there from Dave Allen and Reece Hambry. It's the reaction to the error. You know, I think Dave Allen's got a better line from that. Reece Hambry's certainly got a better catch, but he was a little bit lackadaisical when the ball hit the floor. Salford made great grounds. First great chip and chase. The second kick was a little bit wasted. Should have ran that play right to its very end. But here we are. Great field position
for Foran to make a little darting run from dummy half as Widnes clocked off. And he's very close to the try line here. Stephen Wild has gone into dummy half for Salford. A loose-ish pass, but it'll be picked up by Sneed, who takes the ball now and burrows into John Clark. Important stop from the Widnes captain. Ashes is in there, one of half a dozen ex-Saints in this Salford side. Ryan McGoldrick. Griffin now trying to squirm out of a tackle. This is the final one in this set for Salford. Knocking on the Widnes door. Well, that's not the best end to a set for sure. They will turn the ball over near the line. Now they concede a penalty, so a double play, a doubly done play, I think, Paul Cullen.
Well, I'm looking at the positives, really. Kevin Brown, just watch this. He knows full well. Tackle complete, get to his feet, leave his leg in there. didn't con the referee, he just made sure he was going to get a penalty from that situation.
The player's got to make a decision. The defender has to make a decision there, Rod. Do I let them play the ball quick and roll down the field, or do I take the odds of giving their penalty away? And for some unknown reason, players sometimes think giving their penalty away is probably a better decision. I don't quite agree with that because of the extra. I mean, a kick for touch generally gets you 20 or 30 cheap metres.
We saw 43 tries yesterday. We're still awaiting for our first one of the second day's play. So Bradley is here. Didn't complete the Giro d'Italia, which finishes today. Much better place to be here rather than a mountaintop in Italy here in Manchester. Some more audacious stuff from Widnes. Little kick through, Salford will pick it up.
Yeah, Widnes are punching in tight to the ruck. John Clark is sending Eamon O'Carroll and Steve Pickersgill straight in behind the ruck, trying to tie up some Salford defenders. When they get them tied up, and when they get them bunched up, as Spider Cam could show us, it's then that Widnes flick it out wide and use the ability of Cameron Phelps on one centre position and Stephen Marsh on the other. Not being controlled by that man, John Clark, in the middle, although on that occasion he conceded a penalty which should give Salford a bit of an easy roll down the field. And Stephen Wild, I believe that he's had a go at.
It's given Stephen Wild a headache, that's for sure, who's just 5 appearances away for a career 300. Over 100 appearances for Huddersfield and for Wigan. John Clark making his 360th appearance, to the veterans of our sport.
He's playing well this season. We covered it in Stats Pack, Player's Choice. We asked the opposition team who the most influential player was, and every time they played against Widnes, it's invariably been, I should say, not every time, but invariably been John Clark or Rhys Hanbury that have got the nomination for the opposition. So he signed a new one-year deal for Widnes Vikings, and he's certainly given them value for money this season.
Well, the degree that he got that you mentioned, Rod, it was a master's in sports science. He knows how to look after himself. I'm sure John going to be one of the great conditioners as his career unfolds. He really does lead this team from the front.
Well, Salford have had one good opportunity on the Widnes line. They're trying to force another one here as Adam Wong goes charging forward. Now it's McGoldrick, who scored the match-winning try in their only win under Brian Noble. That came against his old club, Castleford. Theo Farge is knocked down by Phelps. Now McGoldrick prods one forward, and again Widnes are up to it on their own line. Let's get some news from the sideline from Graham Beecroft. Graham, what have you got for us?
Yes, well, there's been an error as far as Widnes are concerned. They've made a mistake because Foran had started, and his name was on the official team sheet as being a substitute. Then, because he has started, a substitution has been made according to the match official. So they've already used one substitute inadvertently because they put a player. They meant to make the change but didn't make it and tell the officials, but they failed to do so, failed to put the right starting lineup on the team sheet, and so therefore one substitution has been made because Foran started.
Thanks, Graham. It's the Godwin and Foran situation. A mix-up from Brian Noble and his coaching staff has cost them one of their interchanges, and now we only have 10, used to be a dozen, of course, but in this hot weather, that's a blunder by somebody in the Salford camp.
Well, you just don't make mistakes like that, I'm afraid. Those team sheets are checked and checked by many people. The coach will have looked at it. Whoever filled it out, probably one of the assistant coaches, maybe. It might be the head coach himself, but there's people look at that sheet. They know what's going on.
Stuart Cummins.
Well, the team that's named on the sheet should be the team that starts, and any alteration to that, if there are different players on there, that's an interchange.
Thank you, Stuart. Well, Salford then have only got 90% of the changes that they ought to have in this game. McGoldrick, who's seen plenty of the ball here, the ex-Castleford Tiger, the ex-Hull FC man. There is the aforementioned Foran, Daryl Griffin, Farge, prodded through, it's been played at, now it's bouncing around like a pinball. Stephen Wild chips it through, and it will be a Widnes.
I'll tell you what I like.
Scrum.
Tell you what I like about this game, Rod. The fact that it's 0-0 is immaterial. The scoreline's immaterial. The fact is it's going about 70 or 80 metres on each set. When whoever's got the ball, Salford are getting down within about 10 metres. Widnes now, if it goes according to form, will get up within 10 metres there. But both sides are defending well, and yet it's a pretty sort of flowing game. There's very few errors in this game.
They're defending well, they're shaping up well in attack. I think it's the execution. If you press pause and look at Salford's shape in attack, you'd say, gee, that's pretty good. They're just not coming up with the right pass and the right kick, which, as we know, is a large part of what you have to do.
Looking at this from being virtually sat on the roof, you do get a fantastic view of the Salford shape. They have gone for the kick 3 or 4 times now when they've been in great field position. Martin Gleeson, one of the best centres that this country's ever produced. He's stood on the right-hand side with his hands in his pockets. He's not touched it yet, and they keep going to the kick, and Widnes keeps solving the problem. For me, get the ball in Gleeson's hands and let him use his feet against a young player like Joe Mellor. Good in defence, but he's in for a tough day today if Martin Gleeson actually gets some ball.
Well, Martin Gleeson, remember, scored 2 tries to win the grand final for Wigan against St Helens only 3 years ago, but spent 18 months out of the sport after a drug ban. So finding his way and finding his feet again in Super League now, and this time the high bomb again from Kevin Brown examines the Salford defence, and this time they can't come up with the right answers to the question. And now Widnes are going to get a second set here, right on the line. This is their big opportunity. They forced the error. Dave Allen is squirming through a gap, and he's knocked down close to the try line, but Widnes will fancy their chances from here this time. Stefan Marsh, and now Joe Mellor, now a permanent Widnes Viking signing, having been on loan from the Wigan Warriors, and he might get a first try of the game. He can't stretch out because Mark Sneed makes an important stop. John Clark going left this time. Kevin Brown, and the ball is spilled. It will be touchdown perhaps by Hanbury, but the knock-on will be called.
You know what? John Clark has just thrown a magnificent ball from dummy half. The ball was so good, it put Kevin Brown on the outside of his defender, Andrew Dixon. The ball just wasn't, they weren't able to hold on to it. Dennis Betts furious at that. But the work from dummy half to put Kevin Brown on the outside already made Andrew Dixon as a defender redundant on that occasion.
I'll tell you why a coach gets upset about that, Brian, is because he knows that's try time. He knows someone's about to crack. The fact that Mark Sneed dropped that high ball, that was the opportunity. That was the repeat set, and he just knew if they could control the football, they would score then.
Absolutely, and Sneed did very well, didn't he? He was the man that put the ball down. I hope the Widnes player was onside. I'm sure he was. And it was Sneed then who got that last grasp tackle on Joe Mellor as he weaved his way almost to the sticks. So again, it's not about sometimes the mistakes that you make, it's what you do after them.
Decent set here coming out of their own half from Salford. They've got within 10 metres of the halfway line. That will be an attempted 40-20. It will depend on the bounce. It goes right rather than left and is picked up by Hanbury for the Vikings.
Still a great kick. Great kick, and there's a positive chase. They just got to make sure when Rhys Hanbury has the ball in, you can't have any holes in that defensive line that's chasing down. No dog legs in it. You got to chase as one, because if he sniffs a gap, he'll be length of the field. You see this in this occasion, the Spider Cam giving us a great indication of what he's trying to do, Rod. He just needs that ball to kick left, go for 40-20, but worked out to be a good kick nonetheless.
Penalty blown, lying on in the tackle. Stephen Wild is the guilty party. Widnes still missing a couple of their big guns today. Patrick Arban injured, Gareth Hock sitting out the second match of a 4-game ban. Stephen Wild for Salford. They're missing Chris Nero, and that nasty neck injury against Bradford last weekend.
Poor penalty there from a player of Stephen Wild's ability, because he actually didn't lose collision. Salford dominated that tackle, and he just stayed on. Didn't look like he was going to get back or make that effort. You know, it's a real poor one from a player of his ability. He's better than that.
Well, penalties playing a key role within rugby league in terms of getting you field position, and here goes Kevin Brown, the big signing for the Widnes Vikings in the off-season. He's only played 7 games for them due to injury, but they've won 4 of those 7. Just shows how important he has been to them when he's been fit. Likewise, Hanbury, can he stay in the field of play? He can. It's manhandled back into the confines of the pitch by a couple of his teammates. Again, it's John Clark looking to tee up the attack, feeding Brown. Well, a stop-start approach. Pickersgill eventually decides to go to ground in the tackle and tee up the attack. Kevin Brown again as they come from right to left. Well, he is as close as any Widnes player has been. Last tackle, that could be the first try. It's being claimed by Pickersgill. Steve Pickersgill is claiming the try. It would be his first of the season if he has got the ball down. Stuart.
Well, he's going to check to see whether the man who played the ball, I think it was Kevin Brown, actually impedes any defenders. And that's the view that the video referee will need. Obviously, the man playing the ball can't just disappear, but he should stand still and not obstruct any player coming through.
Kevin Brown's left arm, Stuart, is that what you're looking at to see if he's made an effort to impede that Salford attacker?
The first thing will be to see if he moves off the mark, which he probably does, but is the marker in position? That will be the other thing you'd look at.
Well, whatever Kevin Brown was doing, the other question is going to be, was the ball actually grounded by Pickersgill? And he'd have to say that's the other thing. Fair amount of doubt about that, wouldn't you, Stuart?
It doesn't look like he's getting down to the ball.
That looks like
the marker wasn't in a position to be in a position to make a tackle.
Look at that for defensive play. Whether or not Kevin Brown has taken him out, Liam Foran seems to have held the ball up. The front rower, big guy Steve Pickersgill, he's smashing the ball down towards the line. Liam Foran has his wits about him, and he's managed to cradle the ball and prevent it from touching the line. A no try, in my opinion.
It should be a handover.
Your
I think
opinion?
it's the last tackle.
It's right, Brian, because it's a no try. There was no penalty involved. It will be a handover of the football to Salford City Reds because it was the last tackle.
It's absolutely why the technology in this game is second to none. To the naked eye, that was a try. Throw the replay on, and who'd have thought that Foran would have got under Steve Pickersgill, because that was an absolutely dead set certain try.
Well, Phil Bentham is the video referee. He made the decision from all the evidence that was available to him. This is what the referee was actually seeing on the field, Thierry Alibert, and you can see not a lot, to be honest, and that's why he went to the video ref.
I'll just go back to Stuart. Stuart, if this game wasn't televised, it's tough. I know you probably have an in-goal touch judge.
Well, the in-goal judge would have a lot to say in that decision, and he will be in a position to actually see that ball being held up. So, you know, we do have systems in place in other games that do help, but obviously not as good as the video referee.
If we were in court there, Stuart, we'd have just said hypothetical question. You don't need to answer that. Salford have got the ball. Still scoreless. Pickersgill's try, in inverted commas, are chalked off as Sneed puts a left-footed bomb into the air. That's a dangerous one. It's claimed by Hanbury, very well claimed, because what he'd have seen in his vision there was a Salford City Red bearing down on him by the name of Andrew Dixon.
That's right. Rhys Hanbury, difficult ball to take. He was unable to leave the ground. If he had left the ground, caught it in the air, would have been even more difficult for the Salford defender not to get involved in that. Referee's absolutely bird's eye view of it, or referee's eye view of it.
I think what we can see as well now is Brian Noble's game plan. You really can see Salford working hard to complete the sets, to get to good field position, and invariably they go to the kick on the last play. It's about having some control over your charges. You are missing one or two running options, but Brian must judge that his team aren't quite right to take those plays and take those chances as yet. Get to the end of the set, put the kick in, work on a chase, and just try and keep yourself in the arm wrestle.
This time collected comfortably by Sneed, who has dropped one. Well, they all drop them sometimes, but has dropped one today out of 5 or 6 that have been aimed at him.
You know, and Sneed playing at fullback, we know him originally as a scrum half. We've got Lee Gaskell, we know him as a standoff playing in the centre. McGoldrick, well, he's played anywhere. We know him as a fullback playing at standoff. And Foran at hooker, we've known him as a standoff and a loose forward in the NRL. So lots of new positions and changes for Salford to get a grip of.
Foran's left-footed cross right across the face of the Widnes post. They get there in the end, but it's a dangerous moment, that. And Foran, as we heard earlier, started the game when it was meant to be on the bench in an administrative blunder by Salford, so he's one of their interchanges. Left-footed kick bounced kindly in the end for Widnes, who, as I mentioned, looking for a win that would get them within a couple of points of the playoff places, and Salford looking for any kind of positive result, a draw or better, which would get them off the foot of the table. They're currently propping up the pile in 14th as Clark comes away for Widnes. Lloyd White involved off the interchange bench. Kevin Brown stretches his legs and prods one into the corner. Will it find the sideline? Yes, it will. And Salford would start 10 metres away from their own line.
Kevin Brown flashing onto the short side to kick. It's as good as John Clark kicking out of the dummy half position. If you're on the left wing like Jody Broughton was, you have to come up to defend the play. You've got to defend the passing play, and that leaves an option to kick in behind you. So whether it comes out of the dummy half or Kevin Brown flashing around, it's a good option and difficult for a winger like Broughton to defend against.
Yeah, and you often have the fullback out of position too, don't you, Brian? Often he'll tend to cover more in the middle of the field in that situation, thinking you're going to kick open. So you come around the blinds to that short side play. As you say, they have to come up and try to put pressure on. Otherwise, he's got a pass option as well. I still like the way both sides are playing. I'm waiting for someone to crack here, but it's just not showing any real signs yet. They're just absolutely obsessed by completing their set, getting down the other end of the field, and both sides are doing it so well. It's a terrific game, even though we're at 0-0.
Well, it's the first time this weekend we've gone a 20-minute spell without a try being scored, and who's to say won't go another 20 before half-time?
Not that many penalties. We've not seen that many scrum down. The ball has been in play for a serious percentage of the game so far, and maybe Sean, that mess up on the substitution will take its toll somewhere in the line, because you're getting fatigue in your players. It's around the time now the substitutions are being made. The front rows, the hookers are being rotated. We can now see Wayne Godwin on at number 14 with the skull cap, and will that mistake take its toll later on?
Good take that by Paddy Flynn, playing on the wing today. I mentioned that Patrick Arban is currently out sideline, the goal-kicking winger of the Widnes Vikings. So Flynn in on one wing and young Jack Owens on the other for the Vikes, as Cameron Phelps takes it up. There's been a lot of players had a lot of injuries this season at Widnes, and only one ever present in their entire team. That's how many problems they've had with injuries, Widnes Vikings this season. I mentioned Kevin Brown has only played 7 games for them, their marquee signing. They've won 4 of the games he's played and only 2 of the 8 he hasn't. So it just shows the importance of the big hitters in this Widnes side. Maybe haven't got the depth of squad of some of the other Super League clubs. Hanbury with a risky offload in midfield. And he was lucky he had Lloyd White just right next to him, because that could have gone to ground. Joe Mellor kicks into space behind Salford.
That's a kick that ties in with what Sean McRae referred to earlier. That's a team that's just trying to complete their sets. Not the greatest kick. Chase is not too bad, but there weren't any offside runners. There wasn't an attacking kick of any description, really. It was almost a defensive kick from attacking position. You just want to try and force a mistake out of the Salford City Red side now.
You're right, Brian. It's almost like one of these, they're waiting, aren't they? They're just waiting for each other to make a mistake, then they're going to pounce. And the stats are supporting that. I mean, you look at the completion rates at the moment. Salford just below 80%. The Widnes Vikings above around 85%. So they're extremely high in terms of completion rates.
Well, Salford's problem since Brian Noble arrived was the fact that they've conceded vast amounts of tries. They did win that first game 34-30 against Casford, but since then have been tonked at Wigan and also Warrington, and lost home to Bradford, and in that time they've only scored 3 tries. So it may well be that he's decided to go straight back to basics and just try and concede as few points as possible and play in a very defensive and conservative manner.
Well, Ryan McGoldrick's typified that, Rod. You've touched on it, and his kick there was nothing but a defensive kick, and he put his hand up, I think, to acknowledge it to his teammates, almost an apology. Sorry for that, guys. We see Phil Joseph. This guy can make an impact off the bench, but he's hard to put down.
Well, we often see it in football, the policy that if we don't concede, we can't lose, but very rarely going to see that in rugby league, Brian. We've got too many 0-0 draws in this sport.
This will break open. Don't worry about that. There's absolutely no way this game is going to end in a 0-0 draw, Rod.
That's my point. It's not like it's a poor game. It's not like we've got error after error after, and we're talking about how many scrums and how many penalties and people just dropping ball. It's free-flowing. The pass is very good. The execution's quite good. It's just neither side's prepared to finish it off. They're waiting for a mistake. Maybe we're going to get it now.
Well, this is anybody's now. This is bouncing around for a second time, batted down into the hands of Stephen Marsh. It's still the last tackle, and Marsh won't get to the try line, but he will turn the football over a couple of metres from the Salford line. It's not a bad place to hand the ball to Salford.
No, not at all, and we saw some bouncing balls yesterday and the damage it can do. Jody Broughton has made a play for it. Well, he's run towards it and then pulled out at the last minute. Gone for it a second time. Widnes had the presence of mind to slap it back into Cameron Phelps' hands and put the pressure on Salford defence. Now they got the opportunity to run it out.
There is a fascinating contest. You know, are both sides going to continue with this philosophy of completion, of kick and chase? Minimal risk. They're looking to put the pressure on the opposing side and simply make or wait for them to break. Will they be patient, or will someone just take that chance?
Well, that was well spotted by Wayne Godwin. Spotted the opportunity, spotted the gap, and took full advantage of it. That's not the best of passes, and it's forced Salford all the way back. Andrew Dixon will maintain possession. Phil Joseph knocks him down. But, well, all the good work from Godwin was wasted. Now, a kick that cannoned off a Widnes Viking. Thierry Alibert has said, played at, not played at, played at. And now he decides it's not played at, and it will be a Widnes.
It should be a turnover, shouldn't it? Not a scrum.
If it's on the last tackle, it should be a turnover.
It will be a turnover. Was it played at? It's a contentious rule that played at, not played at, isn't it, sometimes?
Well, it's very difficult because usually a player who's playing it will actually put his hands up and try and play at it. But where players are running towards the ball, they're obviously going to run towards someone who's going to kick it, and the decision is then whether they're in a position to actually go and charge the ball down. Sometimes the ball just does hit them.
Well, Widnes have turned down a kick at goal there. Penalty blown by Thierry Alibert. Normally you'd say in these Magic weekends, look, it's not going to be settled by a penalty goal in a low-scoring game, but in this contest it's 0-0 after 27 minutes, so maybe it will be. But Dennis Betts, or the captain on the field, John Clark, decided they weren't interested in 2 points, and it would have been an absolute lollipop of a kick for Jack Owens. Now the ball's come out, it's another penalty. They're going to have another choice to make. This time, will they go for the 2 this time? It's probably a more difficult kick, even though it's nearer to the post. The angle would be more difficult for the goal kicker Owens. Dennis Betts says, make up your own mind.
I'd be inclined to play it.
Would
I think
you?
yeah, both occasions, I think they've done the right thing, Widnes.
Well, this is Mellor, as often is the case. Whether they're right or wrong will be decided solely by the outcome. We can all act with hindsight, though, can't we?
Smell a try.
Smell a try. I wonder if Widnes can sniff a try here. A couple of tackles gone here. They're right under the Salford post. They would be in the shadow of them if the sun hadn't gone out. Now it's Hambry. Hambry is into McGoldrick, spinning around in tackles, and in the end, Ashurst has got hold of a leg and pulled him down. Clark again. Have they got something up their sleeve here, Widnes? Clark has thrown an intercept. This could be disastrous. It's Gaskell going away. You could smell a try.
I told you.
But it's at the other end of the field. An absolute nightmare for Widnes, because the pass was picked off by Lee Gaskell for an absolute gift of a try for Salford, who hit the front against the odds.
Mystic Meg, I just thought it would come for the other side. Well, Salford were defending. Widnes had plenty of options, and Lee Gaskell, he had to either make a tackle or make a play at the ball. He decided to go for the ball, landed in his arms, and he showed some great pace. Make the length of the field with some chasing defenders, not good enough to get close to him, and he's got the first try of the game. John Clark jumps out, tries to find his man on his outside. Lee Gaskell reads the situation perfectly well. Paddy Flynn unable to get past Jody Broughton and get to Lee Gaskell. Gaskell, great effort, great start for his side on the scoreboard.
Well, Professor Hindsight would say they've turned down 2, they've conceded 6, they've just had an 8-point turnaround against them, the Widnes Vikings. And now you go back and say they should have kicked the penalty, but we're all wise with hindsight. It's a perfect science.
Common sense usually dictates if you get a chance for 2, take it, but you do have to go with your players. That was all about Widnes. All the ball, all the pressure, all the field position, and John Clark just came up with a pass that was not the worst in the world. It was just simply better read by Lee Gaskell, a former half-back playing out in the centres. He either missed that or Widnes scored. And what you like about that, he's pushed up hard in defence and he has dictated what was going to happen. You've got to credit Salford there more than we criticise Widnes.
Well, Mark Steed has the ball on the kicking tee, trying to turn the 4 into 6. In many ways, Lee Gaskell is one of the strangest stories of Super League 18. When it started, he and Johnny Lomax were supposed to form the first-choice half-back pairing for St Helens, not just for this season, for many years to come. As Sneed adds the 2 to make it 6-0. Then, obviously, Nathan Brown didn't like what he saw, the new St Helens coach. And Gaskell was binned off on loan and all sorts, and in the end, is on a season-long loan to Salford, with Stuart Howarth going in the opposite direction to Saints. It's a funny story, that.
Well, it sure is, but Lee Gaskell won't be too bothered about that now. I mean, you have to anticipate. Sometimes you're a hero, sometimes you're a villain. Sometimes you jump the line and players go past and everyone says, well, he didn't keep a straight line, he didn't work with the players inside and outside of him. On that situation, he read the play really, really well.
we were all looking and speculating on what was going to break, what was going to be a turning point in this game. I don't think any of us could have foreseen that was going to happen. It all looked like Widnes were dominating this game in the first 20.
It's the team you'd want to score first in this game. I believe Widnes were favourites going into this, and I think Salford scoring first and perhaps forcing Widnes to up their game and to chase a little is better for a